So this is my friend Darcy Ecker. It's so much fun to look at your face. You don't look any different.
Oh, wow. Thank you, but no.
Oh, amazing. And so Darcy and I have known each other since the 80s. And we
Yep.
were in that era in sport where we were still taught by the aging captains and colonels, amongst
Yeah.
others, our mentors. If we weren't taught
Yeah.
directly from the captains and the colonels, our mentors were.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
shared, Nick Holmesmith was one of the mentors that we shared in common, as well as others. And
Yeah. The Colonel,
mate.
Mr. Jack. Jack, yes, sir.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm squinching up just thinking about
Yeah,
that.
I know, I puckered just a
What
little.
did you eat for breakfast this morning, Paige? A telephone pole? I tried so hard. It's terrifying.
Yeah,
Oh my
and
goodness.
I got, what did I get? He said to me once, "You're about as useful as a gnat on your horse's back."
Okay. Okay. Yes.
Mhm.
My favorite was when he would call someone up in front of the others and go, Darcy, Darcy, come here. Darcy, everybody look at Darcy's horse. And there's always a crowd, right? Everybody's looking
Yeah,
at
and
Darcy's
he's going,
horse.
yeah,
And you're looking at your horse like this
yeah.
and going like, oh my God, what? And he goes, I'll use my name instead because it sounds so mean to do it to a guest. Paige, Paige, come over here. What's the matter with Paige's horse? Everybody look at O'Reilly. What's the matter with O'Reilly? He has an abscess on his back. And then he would launch in. You are nothing but an abscess on your horse's back. So,
See, that's part of that old school stuff where they made us feel this big. Thankfully, we've moved to, I don't know, more positive reflection. Because if you were in the right space, you could take that and be okay with, because everybody would laugh, right? Because they all, but there were other times when that happened and you were so belittled that literally you finished that ride and you retained nothing of it.
yeah. Well, often the goal, honestly, in lessons like ones that I was telling excerpts from, was often to reduce the student to something. And so I think in Jack's case, there were a lot of things at play when he pushed people past the breaking point. And a lot of pressures and things that were normalized back then. He was coaching men to carry out a mission and get it the fuck done. Like, if you think about what he was training for, and I never really did at the time, right? It was just a dressage
No, we
lesson
don't.
or a jumping lesson, and our sport was whatever. But he trained men to carry out a mission come hell or high water. So he didn't care if he broke you or not.
Yeah.
He needed you to. And he used to say to me, usually after a particularly rough lesson, of which I have plenty of stories,
Uh-huh.
and one of which had me bleeding behind the knees because my new boots weren't yet broken in. And most of the lesson was spent with him screaming, medium trot again across the diagonal. And then, you cannot seat the goddamn medium trot behind O'Reilly. You can imagine what O'Reilly's hawks were doing.
Yeah.
And the whole thing would just go sideways.
Yeah.
And so the next time he saw me with my bleeding behind the knees and my twitching eye,
Shell-shocked eyes.
perhaps smelling of gin, after crying on someone's shoulder.
Little self-medicating.
Oh my God, being destroyed by Le Goff in front of others, right? And he would say, there is method to my madness, sweetheart. If you can take what I dish out on a daily basis, the Olympics are a piece of cake. And when you're there, I'm your very best friend. Well, I never got there. So and mostly existed in that other sphere.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the other thing is, like, we look at how coaching has evolved and we look at how coaching has changed. That you're right. His his paradigm was, I am training for this extraordinary high pressure. And I think there's still some of that in that military community, right?
Yeah.
But if we look at now, if you're looking at the top performers in sport and you're looking at their coaches, vast majority of them do have mental performance coaching. They understand more about neurobiology, physiology, somatic experiences. You watch the really great coaches, they do that in very, very small doses, only with certain types of athletes. Because most of us are so hard on ourselves at that level. I don't need to be so amped. I don't need to be in the top of my window of tolerance. I always talk about, your window of tolerance. If it's this big, right? So if that's my window of tolerance, ideally as a coach, I'm growing, helping my athlete to grow a larger window of tolerance. Because if I'm always living here in the top, it takes me nothing to redline, to be out of my window of tolerance. As soon as I hit that, this thinking part of my brain, this prefrontal cortex, it's gone offline. And all of those resources that I had, I can't access them. I mean, we've all had that experience writing an exam, right? You go in and in school, you've got a test you have to write, and you know this stuff, and suddenly it's gone.
Yeah.
And you walk out of the exam, you're like, why did I get that wrong? Like I knew how to do it. But it's because when we calm down again and that prefrontal cortex, this thinking part of the brain comes back online, you can access that again, right?
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. Bowman, who was Michael Phelps's coach, he tells a really good story in his book. And he says, I was at World Championships. I watched two different coaches warm up two different athletes. And one coach is chatting with the athlete and kind of gets her laughing and smiling and relaxed. And she goes out and she is extraordinary. She ends up medaling. Another coach is nitpicking right to the last minute, gets that performer really on edge. She falls apart. She's a puddle on the ice. And she was the one that was favored to be extraordinary. So our ability to understand how a human brain works, how it changes your physiology, your muscles, not only how you can access information and all of those. I mean, if you're really high in your window of tolerance, and we all are societally, if that's my window, we're all living up here. And I'll talk to you guys later on about some tools you can do to start to make that window of tolerance bigger again. But we're all living up at the top all of the time. So we have nowhere to move when things, I mean, ideally you should be going, crappy, boring, it's a little better. Oh, something happened. Oh, but I should be able to bounce in my window of tolerance and recover. But if I'm living at the top, I have nowhere to go except out of my window of tolerance. I redline and I'm saying horrible things and doing awful things, and I can't access information and I can't regulate, and I'm so tense. Then I get on my horse and my horse is going, who the hell is up there today? Like, that's not my normal rider. And then our horse gets and stressed, and it's
he jigs in the walk and he won't stand at the halt and he grinds his teeth and
and you're like, what happened to that horse with that beautiful So I mean, I think thankfully yay technology, functional MRI machines, learning about the brain, all this, wearables and all the rest of it. We're a lot smarter about how we coach now. Some of us still have some stuff to learn, but we can be so much more supportive and help our riders get in that state where they can go in and ride the best they can on the day. Don't forget, there's me as an athlete, there's my horse as an athlete, and there's us as a team. And some days we're on, and some days one of us is and one of us isn't. But if we can sort of have those tools and those skills and that coach to really nurture us, I do the best job I can with the tools I have today. And it's recognizing we're all different, but we want to build resilience in our riders. We want to build resilience in ourselves, and we want to build resilience in our horse, because then our teamwork, me and this extraordinary athlete who was my partner, we can, even if it's not an awesome day, it's still a good day. It's still a satisfying ride. I still took some amazing lessons from this. I can build my partnership and therefore my performance. Whatever your venue is. I don't care if you're reining, roping, dressaging, or just pleasure riding. I want you to have tools to be so resilient that you can have something go wrong and you can really quickly bring your thinking part of your brain back down. You have such a big window of tolerance. You never redlined, which takes time to get out of. I can just right? Stay in that window of tolerance and have something go wrong. Heart rate goes up, respiration goes up. I have some tools to re-regulate, but I never redlined because redlining, it takes too long to recover. So there's all these just spectacular things that we can be giving people. And the other really great thing about it, it not only makes me a better equestrian and partner for my horse, it makes me a better human being. I treat myself better. I'm kinder to other people. I'm kinder to my children, the people I work with, my partner, right? It's like, they are life tools and life skills. So we all need, because we live up here in the top, we all need a bigger window of tolerance. And one of the things about goal setting is the fact that my goal should be to be able to bring the best version of me to each day, to each activity.
Yes.
Recognize this wasn't my best moment. This was not my shining moment, but I never redlined. I never did something that I walk away going, oh, I'm so embarrassed.
Or
I feel like I can't believe I did that.
I did. I mean, sometimes we have to talk about recovery too, from like, oh, I redlined and what happened was ugly. What do I do now? So there's I can't believe how many parallels there are in our journeys, coming to a point where it's so much more interesting to us to give people the tools they need to access that magic and make it work, as opposed to telling them how to ride, come to this
You need
jump,
all
blah,
of
blah,
it.
blah, heels down. Yeah. And
You need all.
a lot of the way I came in too, trying to help adult amateurs who were having a hard time turning what they knew and the lessons and the knowledge into something where they could access their instincts and their timing and their flow. And I think that just statistically, so many of our participants in any equestrian sport now, coming in generally from non-horsey families and other jobs, and from the average lives that we have now, are just, our prefrontal cortex is hijacked, isn't it, Darcy? And we're
100%.
trying to connect with that animal, and there is nothing that your coach can do to make any magic happen now if you're arriving in that state for your riding lessons or your shows on the weekend. It's like we got to go work on something other than the shoulder in today, or how to stop him because he's running. It is peel back the layers, and these are the skills that I think the people we admired that did things naturally that maybe they couldn't explain, I would say, had this measurable ability in spades that we could probably measure their HRV and look at them as probably being people that are in the flow and in the green all the time. And then you can access your instincts and your timing and your thinking brain. So I wanted to just mess a little bit with some of the old days and the smart stuff before I hand over the reins for some whoop and some solutions.
Some whoop and some whoop.
Yeah. So old days, I wonder, we were sort of on the cusp of change. They hired Terry Orlick to come and do some coaching for us once, and to witness as we came out of the dressage ring. Our process was to hand the reins to our groom or our mom or whoever.
Our mom.
And come to confessional, and you confessed your sins. And so the order of go was, I did this wrong and this wrong. Oh, don't forget, I saw you do that wrong too. Okay. And then that wrong. And then that was how we were coached. Terry was like, oh my, where to start, right?
Yeah.
And we had, in that day and age, SMART goals. So how we would set our goals didn't sound anything like the road you're about to take us down. And I think between sort of the style of the coaching, our prefrontal cortex is being hijacked. And then setting unrealistic goals to timelines, we turned so many opportunities for beauty into very difficult experiences for horses. If you think of some of the things you've maybe gone through, like I have myself, maybe I've asked too much too soon because I was trying to qualify for something that had a timeline.
Yeah.
And I just knew there had to be a better way, but I didn't know you had it until recently. So smart. I get hung up on these words. So our old way was to set goals that were S stands for specific,
And
measurable,
measurable. Yep.
achievable. Yeah, I'm on board, but
But we
achievable,
got to get
realistic.
there. Got to get there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And time bound. And the biggest one I have issue with is the time bound of the SMAR and the T, but it didn't create magic with horses and riders. It created people who were maybe good at sustaining pressure under competition, and probably created some resilience. But I'm gonna hand it over now because Darcy already knew about all that day and age. I wanted to kind of paint the picture for our listeners. And she says, yeah, Paige, there's a better way, and it's whoop. So take us to a better place, Darcy.
Okay. So I think one of the most important things for us to remember is for us to ever have a chance of hitting that flow state, for us to ever have that opportunity to just, you have those moments where, like you say, Paige, the magic just happened. Like you come off your horse and you're like, oh, why can't I do that more? Right. So we want to make sure that we're giving ourselves that opportunity. We are hunting the good. We are remembering that success leaves clues. What did I do really well last time? And I want to do more of that. That's the sweet spot. And that whole time-bound thing puts more pressure on us. And again, our whole life we live, if that's my window of tolerance, if that's my ability to be resilient and handle good stuff, and oh, I'm so bored. Like if I want to be able to bounce up and down in that space and give myself time, I have so much room to go before I get in trouble. And so when we talk about whoop, the very first thing is W, wish. What do you wish for? Like it's not a goal in the concrete old idea of goal. We all need goals. You don't get better if you aren't setting markers of achievement, right?
Okay.
Even if it's just, I want to become a better partner for my horse. I want to become a calmer person. What I want to not have so much muscular tension, whatever it is. We all need aspirations. You don't get better if you don't have something you're trying to achieve. So I want you to have goals, but instead of calling it goal and having all that baggage that goes with it, what about a wish? Wishes are dreams. There's this thing that if I could get that.
Feels
So
softer.
wish. Yeah. What
And
do
it
you
brings it
wish? What
into
do
your
you do?
body too, doesn't it? It starts to,
It
when you
does. It
wish
turns.
for something, there's a feeling attached to it.
It's the same thing with dreaming, right? It's a somatic experience. You go back and you daydream and you literally you feel it. It's like playing music and you hear the song, oh, I remember when, right? And you get that same but you get the somatic experience. So what's your wish? What's the thing you really want to achieve? And then the next thing is when we talk about, my next thing is it's what would I observe? Who do I want to be when I get there? Who do I need to be to achieve that wish? Because I can have all the wishes and dreams that I want in the entire world, but unless I know that I have to become a different version of me, I'm not going to achieve it. Then the next, I'm so observable. What would I see? Who would I be? If somebody was looking at me from the outside, what kind of person would they observe? What kind of things would I be seeing in my own behavior? What kinds of things would I be observing about my pre-performance warm-up in order to have this extraordinary ride? So what would I observe and what would an outsider observe? What are you seeing? Who are you being? The next O is obstacle. What are the things that you're going to get into trouble with? Because if you do not take a couple of minutes to think about the adversity, to plan for, I know my horse is really crap on the right lead when I turn down center line. How do you prepare for that? What kind of schooling have you done in advance? What did you do in your warm up? I sure as heck hope you didn't grind your right lead. right? I've worked on suppling my horse and making sure I need to be really attentive to the fact my horse really needs to be on my outside seat bone a lot with this aid. That just helps my horse a lot. So how do I plan for the adversity? What are my roadblocks that are going to get in the way? And then, so I've got my wish. What am I observing when I'm being that version of me? What are the obstacles that are going to get in my way of achieving that? And then make a plan. There's no time connected to this. So let's talk about an example of, let's not even talk about riding. I cannot catch my horse. I can't catch my horse. I'm not the best leader for my horse. My horse doesn't value me more than the herd. In fact, I just assume not be with you. Thank you very much. So you walk out to the pasture. I want my horses to come running to me. I want to call their name, like my dragon princess, demon mare that she is. I love her dearly. I call her, or she hears me. She leaves her crew and she comes booking to see me. I was like, oh, right? So you can't catch your horse. I wish I could catch my horse. Who do I need to be to catch my horse? Well, if I'm getting to the stables, all amped, high in my window of tolerance, lots of physical tension, I whack on the halter, I drag it across the field. Maybe I'm having to take out cookies right now. I don't want to have to take cookies out. Who do I need to be that person my horse wants to hang out with? So I had a client who could never, ever catch her horse. And she said, my horse must be in a tiny paddock. And I said, before you even exit your car, you need to take a couple of minutes and check in. If you're coming at your horse like this with all the crap from the day, I don't want to hang around you, never mind your horse.
Yeah.
Right? So what do you observe in yourself? What do you see in yourself? What do other people say they see when you're person your horse wants to be with? Who do you need to be? Obstacles. All right. I know that this is a gigantic, huge field that Darcy just turfed my horse into, and my horse doesn't connect with me really, really well yet. So, what's some adversity? Well, if all I ever do is catch my horse and ride it, maybe a really good idea to plan for this is go and catch my horse a couple of times before that day where I know there's a time constraint because I've got to get a lesson and I don't have time to get here from work. I'm going to go out and catch my horse. I'm going to give them some treats. I'm going to give them some snugs. I'm going to make it this wonderful, awesome experience. So my horse isn't kind of going, no way. My horse is going, maybe, right? I'm starting to build that bridge, taking you from who you were, the horse running away, to this person. Oh, your horse, at least he might not be coming to you yet, but at least he's not running away. He's waiting for you. And then what's my plan? I need to make sure I get there a couple days early. I need to make sure I don't come with an agenda. I'm just on horse time. I bring a couple of my horse's favorite cookies so that catching them is a reward there, because initially, right, I need to figure out a way to give my horse an olive branch that I am not showing up only to do the grind. And sometimes initially, treats and awesome, wonderful things are a fabulous way to start creating that bridge, that connection between my horse and me. So I have to make a plan. I've got my lesson on day X. Let's reverse engineer it. Let's pick the days we do just the hangouts. Maybe I just hand graze them for a while. Maybe if my horse is nice, I can hop on and go for a bareback hack and let him graze on their schedule, not on mine. So the whole whoop process is so totally, you're coming at it from a completely different place. I have a wish, a goal, a vision of what I'd like to achieve. I get really clear on who I need to be and how I need to show up for that to happen. I think about the obstacles and the things that are going to get in my way, and then I make a plan about how I get past those obstacles. If you don't plan for adversity, it blindsides you. It is extraordinary to some of the amazing athletes that I've worked with. They plan for adversity to the point where when something goes wrong, even if it's not what they planned for, they have so much confidence in their ability to handle whatever the hell comes at them. Like, how extraordinary is that? I have confidence